To win the artificial intelligence race and achieve a near-trillion-dollar valuation, one company took a different path. Instead of rushing to lead on speed, they built a system defined by its constraints. In 2020, internal friction at OpenAI reached a breaking point. As the organization shifted toward rapid deployment and aggressive commercialization, it began pushing language models into the public sphere as quickly as the compute allowed. A group of researchers inside the lab saw a risk in this trajectory. They believed the underlying technology was advancing at a pace that far exceeded the industry's ability to understand or control it. This disagreement over safety became an existential split. Vice President of Research Dario Amodei, his sister Daniela, and several senior colleagues resigned from OpenAI to design a new architecture from the ground up. In January 2021, they incorporated Anthropic as a public benefit corporation. This specific legal structure forced the company to prioritize long-term societal safety directly alongside shareholder returns. The group bet that the market would eventually value control over raw scale. They gambled that the industry would reach a point where the most valuable asset was a system that could be reliably steered, even if it meant moving slower at the start. Before Anthropic, AI alignment relied on brute force. Companies hired massive teams of human labelers to manually read outputs and rate them as good or bad. This process was slow, expensive, and impossible to scale as models became more complex. In December 2022, Anthropic introduced constitutional AI. Instead of human feedback, they gave the model a written set of high-level principles to govern its own behavior. These rules were based on established human-centric norms. The researchers drew directly from historical documents like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to create a literal constitution for the machine. This diagram shows the cycle of self-critique. When a model generates a response, the system asks itself if the output violates any constitutional principles. If it does, the model rejects the answer, refines it, and tries again before the user ever sees it. Automating this process removed the human bottleneck. It allowed the model's safety guardrails to expand at the same speed as its own compute power. Constitutional AI transformed safety from manual human oversight into a self-correcting software architecture. The framework allowed protocols to execute at the pace of the model's underlying reasoning. When Anthropic launched the Claude models, they avoided the usual viral hype. They prioritized refusal behavior, the model's ability to say no to harmful or deceptive requests, even when that made the AI appear less capable than its rivals. They doubled down on this identity in 2026 with a Super Bowl ad promising Claude would remain ad-free. It framed Anthropic as the privacy-focused alternative in a market increasingly built on data monetization. This strict focus on restraint became a massive commercial advantage. For banks, hospitals, and government agencies, an AI that follows a rigid constitution is an operational requirement, not a limitation. Trust turned Claude into a cloud-neutral standard. Amazon committed $4 billion to make it a primary offering on AWS, while Google followed with another $2 billion. By spanning every major cloud provider, Anthropic became the default choice for global enterprise. Staggering investment rounds followed this market capture. In late 2025, Iconic and the Qatar Investment Authority led a $13 billion Series F. This capital funded multi-billion-dollar hardware deals with Microsoft and SpaceX, securing high-density compute. By mid-2026, a $65 billion investment pushed the valuation to $965 billion. Anthropic became the most valuable private AI firm on Earth, surpassing the rivals they once fled. In the enterprise software world, predictability and built-in restraint proved to be the ultimate commercial features. The sheer capability of these models eventually pushed into dangerous territory. By mid-2026, Anthropic began testing Mythos-class systems, experimental models with reasoning powers far beyond their public releases. Within days of their development, the U.S. government issued export control directives. The hardware and software were deemed too sensitive for global access, forcing Anthropic to suspend the Mythos program for all commercial customers. The Department of Defense and intelligence agencies moved in, subjecting the company to intense scrutiny. They focused on how these advanced models could be used to automate cyber operations and influence military target selection. Anthropic had succeeded in building the most powerful AI on the market. As a result, the state reclassified their commercial software as dual-use weapons technology. The final shift occurred in June 2026. Anthropic confidentially filed for an IPO, beginning the formal process of entering the public market. This creates a direct conflict. Anthropic remains a mission-driven public benefit corporation, but it will now answer to public shareholders who demand quarterly growth and immediate returns on billions of dollars in compute. The coming years will test whether a written constitution can survive the forces of global capitalism, or if the advanced technology Anthropic unleashed will eventually break through the very constraints that made it successful.